Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. And we're in kind of a weird studio today because I've got some stuff coming up and I didn't feel like changing the backdrop. So you get what you get today. But today we're going to be talking to Matt Gerlach. Matt is a business owner. He actually started a business when he was in New York, moved to California, grew this business and decided that he wanted to do something different. And we're going to talk a little bit about that pivot that some of us want to do when you reach the point where you're just kind of tired of doing what you were doing. So hold on a second. We'll be right back on with you in just a second.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Matt, how are you, my friend?
I am excellent today. How are you, Jeff?
I am fantastic. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. We got a little beginning conversation here before the show, so can't wait to share your story with the audience. So why don't we start off with that? Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get to where you are today?
My story, I would say, starts in 2017. I was living in New York at the time, so about 8 years ago. And I had always been a high performer, always like checked all the boxes, done everything right career-wise. I made good money, but like I came from a working class family and never really knew what good money was. When I moved to New York, I thought, like this was 2010 that I moved to New York, so not that long ago. I thought like rich business people made $100,000 and doctors and lawyers made 200,000. And boy, was I mistaken. I started this business, a consulting business, helping consumer product brands with their sales and marketing. And immediately after starting this business, I started to crumble. I didn't know it was anxiety, but I was anxious. I was just worrying all the time. I was depressed because I couldn't dig myself out of the hole that I was in. I was constantly working. I had 6 clients, was charging way too little for what I was doing. I had minimal vetting process. So I came in and never really understood like that. Here I was, the salesperson going out and making these deals happen, but there was no one to fulfill them. So I stepped in for that, and absolutely was suffering very, very badly. I was suicidal. I went to the doctor because I was suffering so bad. She found out I had high blood pressure. No surprise, because I was stressed out and smoking cigarettes all day long and drinking all night. And I ended up in the hospital 2 times thinking I was dying of a heart attack. My partner and I kind of gave a spoiler right there, but my partner and I moved from New York to LA. And on the day we moved to LA was actually the day that I went to the hospital the first time thinking I was dying of a heart attack.
Lord.
So our first night in LA, I was
That should have been relaxation. Hey, I'm heading towards the other coast. It's the sunset and all that.
It was horrible. I mean, we were excited. I mean, I remember I remember the morning, it was a Saturday. We're out, like it had snowed the night before in New York, and we're like taking pictures, and like I was super sad to leave because I loved New York. I never thought I would leave, but I met somebody and he wanted to leave, and in relationships you compromise. So I said no for a while, but eventually we moved. And I mean, it was a great day, champagne on the airplane. And then about 3 hours after landing in LA, I had a chest pain, and my blood pressure was 190 over 110. Went to the hospital, and they kept me overnight because they were not sure that I didn't have a heart attack at 33 years old. I was a compliant patient. I did what I was supposed to do, and I saw the doctors after. I was seeing general doctor, cardiologist, pulmonologist, had a neck surgeon because I was having trouble breathing. Later learned that was anxiety. I was seeing an addiction specialist because I was drinking and smoking marijuana to get through my life. And I was in a couple different kinds of therapy, and just like around and around and around. And finally, it was really like, I mean, I had some good habits. I was going to yoga every day and I didn't really know why that was working, but it was. And working, whatever, it was it was the best part of my day, we'll put it that way. And
Yeah.
then I got, somebody said, why don't you consider yoga teacher training? And yoga teacher training is kind of like, it sounds a little bit like more than it is. I mean, it's really a deep dive into yoga. So
Yeah.
I took a deep dive into yoga, and it was the first time ever that I'd been in a room with adults and really been talking about feelings and just opening up. And I'd never seen
Okay.
adults talk about like life and like admit that things were going wrong in their lives. And so it really provoked me to start what I call a journey of introspection and really getting deeper. And a lot of it was through journaling
Mhm.
and just like, why do I feel this way? The holidays were coming up, and I was like, why don't I want to be at the holidays with my family? And I remember the day I was sitting in my yoga teacher's yoga room at her house, and just like journaling, why, what's deeper? And then I realized, and I shared about it, and I realized that I had a traumatic childhood that I hadn't dealt with. I grew up in a
Okay.
house with love, and there was always warmth and food and clean clothes, but there was a lot of chaos and a lot of unhealed trauma and a lot of just stress and overwhelm, money scarcity, and just
Mhm.
I had different needs.
Yeah.
And there wasn't resources to give me those needs, and so this quickly led me to realize that I had childhood trauma, and that was really what was holding me back. And childhood trauma doesn't have to mean you were thrown down a flight of stairs and
Yeah.
kicked. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, it can be, yeah, there's a multitude of
yeah,
things it
I
could
mean,
be. Yeah.
like one of the things for me, and I think it's really important to just like give some context. Like, I always thought something was wrong with me. I was told like,
Mhm.
you're never happy.
Yeah.
There's like, why are like you're the only one in the family that has these problems. You're the only one that
Yeah.
has these needs. And I had no
Yeah.
friends at school for most of my adolescence, and
Wow.
um, I just thought something was wrong with me because of it, and
Yeah.
grew up.
Yeah. And having the people that love you basically tell you you're the one that's wrong.
Yeah,
Something, yeah, you're just not, you're the one that doesn't fit.
yeah,
Okay, well, thanks. Uh,
yeah. And I kept that with me, and I mean, all through college, up through work. I mean, bringing us to when I started this business, I never had really had to
yeah.
advocate like for boundaries at work. Like I worked for
Mhm.
businesses that had like some rules, not great ones sometimes, but like um starting this I mean, and like starting the consulting business, like I was coming in and changing these clients lives. I was bringing
Yeah.
this experience that I had and doing the unthinkable for them, and I just had no idea how to charge and ask for it. So found a coach, found the right therapist, started working through this all. And I say this like just not to brag, but just like the power of healing. And this is like what is
Mhm.
possible for people. I grew the business to where I mean, I grew the business and I wanted, like, I grew the business and I learned how to keep showing up each day while
Okay.
prioritizing my needs as well and getting my rest
Mhm.
and taking care of myself. So I'm really proud of that. But I grew the business also to where I was making $1 million a year, and eventually built a team to where I was making $1 million a year, working 15, 20 hours a week by
Yeah.
having a team of people that supported me. Um, it led
Yeah.
me.
So you could focus on your zone of genius. This is what I do best. Boom, and get out there.
Yeah, and I remember the day like I tracked my hours, and I remember the day that like there was really adequate support for me where I could just really focus on the sales part. And I made a note, I still have it like on this tracker where it said, Matt, this is like this was the week when like you got to just focus on sales, and I started making more money for my clients, I started making more money for myself, and
Mhm.
I started having more sanity. The things that I had
Well,
to
but
do were
you
like,
also, yeah, you also created jobs for other people
yeah,
too
like the
as a
things
result of that. So that's a double or triple bonus.
like I mean, I was like in an operations kind of role, and I had to do compliance work.
Mhm.
These are the first two things that I would outsource for my own business. Like I I am a like forgiveness, I am an ask for forgiveness not permission kind of person.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
the
So compliance, not exactly your best fit.
no, and I had to like learn it. I mean, I had like I'm reading these documents and like, oh my god, like my brain just does not work this way. So I forced it to work these ways, and it was horrible.
Yep.
um so yeah, it was and so along this journey I dove head first into personal growth and just really like grew. I mean, I
Mm.
invested the money that I was making, not all of it, obviously, but I spent, over a couple $100,000 on just like personal growth on,
Yeah.
um, and I started writing a book, and I really got to know myself, and um, I changed everything about my life. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore.
Good
I have
for
a healthy
you.
relationship with alcohol, and yeah, I take care of myself very well. And on the journey, I realized that all along, like I had never really been happy at work. Like, and I,
Mm.
growing up, or like after college, I'd been admonished, you switch jobs every year or two, like what's going on? And like, that's not good. We want someone long term. And now, like, I'm looking at this like this was the best thing I ever did because I learned so
Yeah.
much. I think Barbara Corcoran said something that she had like 20 jobs or something like in her life.
Mm.
Like, this
Yeah.
is what we do.
And she's been moderately successful
Just a
and
little bit. Yeah. um, so yeah, like, I was like, I remember thinking like, what is wrong with me? All these other people like are so happy at their jobs, and here I am like just going where the wind takes me. My first job out of college was like I sold metal. No, it wasn't crazy. It was just like I learned a lot. It was like constant negotiations of pricing, and
Mhm.
it went and
Yeah, and it's a commodity, so it's like, okay, you have to just negotiate as best as
yeah.
you can.
And and then I went into baby product sales and went into software
Okay.
sales, and it was just like I mean, like none of this ever really made me fulfilled. And
Mm.
money doesn't solve all problems, but it does solve some problems. And when I
Yeah.
work with clients now, I mean, having a cushion or a backup plan or a financial plan is part of the journey, and I'd save some money,
Mm.
and really learned that like I'm 41. I wanted the first half of my professional life has not been enjoyable, and I want the second half to be.
Mhm.
So I left it.
Yeah.
I walked away from the $1 million paycheck about 6 months ago, and
Mm.
did it because I wanted to build a coaching business, and I absolutely love coaching and mentoring, and I do some
Mhm.
consulting here or there. I'm very careful about who I work with and what I do. I want to do things that I love for people who I love,
Yeah.
and it's that kind of brings us up to a few months ago. Should I keep going?
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So, I mean, that was a big transition. I mean, that's most people will never make $1 million in their life, and you walked away from that and headed into really what I would consider a tough business. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there. What uh, what do you find that makes you happy about the coaching side of things?
Helping people, not trading my like not trading my time for money, like actually
Mhm.
being able to impact people. I mean, I could absolutely coach somebody to start, I mean, to make $1 million, but what I
Yeah.
find it's really that like a lot of people just can't show up. They say they want
Mm.
to get help. I've had many people reach out to me and say like, Matt, my life is ending right now. Like, I am so stressed out. My blood pressure is through the roof. Like, I'm so unhappy at work. My boss has no respect for me at all. And then like they're like, I need your services, and like we don't even get to pricing or anything, and they just I mean, I talked to my therapist about it, and he laughed. He's like, oh, Matt, I've been doing this for a long time. People reach out and fill out the form and have the first call and think that that's like going to change their lives, and
Okay, I'll be fine. Yeah, I'll go to one coaching session and everything will be fine
yeah,
after that.
there's work involved. I mean, there's
Yeah.
work, but like all of this like work, like setting boundaries, like getting yourself out of these crappy situations. Like, there's an immediate payoff to setting a boundary. You get yourself out of a crappy
Mhm.
situation, and you find out that like when you tell your boss like, hey, I'm not doing this anymore, it's not in my job description, like you're not I haven't got a raise in 3 years, I'm a top performer doing everything else right, I don't want to do this. Like, your bosses, if
Mhm.
they blow up at you, then that's good information. You need to start looking for a new job, or you need to do something about it because you're not respected.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, I reached out this morning actually to my first coach, and I was telling her about like, what I'm, kind of the experience of building a coaching business. And I said, you know, I mean, I asked her, her name's Gina, and I said, I don't think I ever canceled an appointment. She's like, you never did, but you were ready to do the work. And here,
Yeah.
like, I mean, things come up sometimes, like I respect that, but then there's a lot of people
Wow.
that are just like, they say they want to do the work, and I've had to kind of grow into like, like people might look at me and say that I'm privileged, sure, I mean, I would say that I am privileged, but I've taking
Yeah, but
the fact that I'm a white
you worked your
male.
butt off. Yeah, you worked your butt off to get to be privileged
Yes,
at that point. Yeah.
I mean, I want to acknowledge that my birth,
Yeah.
that being a white male, I feel privileged for that. But in terms of the money
Mhm.
that I've made, I mean, I came from, a very working class family, and I did this
Yeah.
myself. And I've
Yeah.
had to learn that, like, I'm comfortable saying this to you because it's like, this is, this is what happens. Like, anyone can do this if they want to show up.
Mhm.
There's sacrifice.
Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, I always give the example, I've been asked to be part of, masterminds with people. And, it was sometimes friends of mine, acquaintances and things like that. And, you'd go to these event or you'd go to the mastermind sessions and part of that session was okay, well, what did you work on this week and all. Well, I was so busy and I just couldn't get that stuff done. And I'm thinking to myself, I own 4 businesses, I do 2 podcasts, I write books. Do you think I'm not busy? But I get the stuff done. I get the work done to be in that event, and I participate. And I think it's going to be the same as a coach or as a mentor or whatever you end up being. It's going to be that you just have people that don't want to do the work.
yeah,
They just want some magic bullet that's going to get it done. And I think you got to have a little tough love with them. It's best the best way. I like it. You know what, this is not going to work
mhm.
for you don't want to put in the work, and I don't. I've got a limited amount of time that I'm willing to give.
What I'm finding, it's like, I think the people that don't want to put in the work aren't even reaching out. It's the people
Yeah.
that I think, like, they start the conversation. I've been really interested in, like, the fear of success. Like, I've read about this
Yeah.
and I've heard about this, and I don't quite understand how that presents itself. And I don't know that I need to. I think I just know that it's there, and I think that there are some, like, there's a woman that Oprah interviews that I've heard, and she's like, I'm gonna butcher this, but I wish I could say it as eloquent as she did. But it's like, being a poor, person who, like, is overweight. I mean, I know how to be that person. I've been that person my whole life. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how to be that successful person that creates
Mhm.
boundaries and that takes care of my body and prioritizes
Mhm.
eating nutritiously over just eating junk food. Like, I don't know how to do that, so
Mhm.
it's scary. And
Yeah.
as I'm stepping into this new role of this new version of my life, my partner and I we're going through surrogacy right now, so we're having a baby this year. And it's
Good.
interesting.
Congrats.
Like, I don't want to be like, I want to be the best version of myself, and this is all happening
Yeah.
like right now. The IVF portion is happening like literally this week, and it's
Mhm.
really lit a fire under me to address a few of the things that I want to um, change about my life, to make
Mhm.
me who I want to be. And I want to be clear, like, this isn't all about making more money. It's about, like,
Yeah.
my goal right now is I want to make a life where I get the freedom, and I like money. I mean, I would like to have, I'd like to make $1 million. Again, that's nice.
And you don't live in a real cheap place here, bud. So
Well,
it's
exactly, and like, my partner and I've been talking a lot. We would love to be bi-coastal. Like, we love New York, and we would love to have,
mm,
and I mean, making $1 million a year, it's possible to do that,
you could pull that off if you
Yeah.
wanted to. Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I mean, we have to address the things that, like, are holding us back. And it's like, I
Mhm.
think a lot of it is like the shame, like, and shame presents itself in a weird way. It's not necessarily like you feel, oh, I feel shameful. It's like you're kind of
Mm.
like ashamed to ask for help. You don't know there's help available. Like, I have
Yeah.
like, there's a client, like, that I'm in the process of having an engagement conversation with. And it's like, the person, I will maintain anonymity the best I can, even gender wise. The
Mm.
person is they're not worried, they're not sure whether they're going to be able to show up, and there's
Okay.
some real limitation. I mean, I understand why that person feels that way, but we need to start, like, and I've
Yeah.
offered, like, well, I mean, I offer a very white glove service. It's really meeting people where they're at. They're the agenda. Like, I have a rough framework, but it's not like, week one we do
Mm.
this.
Yeah.
For this person, like, the first month might be just like, let's get you out of bed, you know
Yeah.
and this person also is he this person has been really successful, so there is there's some real stuff going on right now. So, but financially, they don't necessarily need to worry about getting out of the bed in the same way that I might need to. But I think a lot of that,
Yeah.
I think we rise to the occasion when we need to. And I was just at like a networking breakfast this morning and talking about this. It's kind of funny the things that, I'm sure you hear being interviewed a lot, the things that
Mm.
come out of your mouth. And I said this a while ago, and I said that if it wasn't for these wake up calls that happen, the depression, the panic attacks, I might have just skated north of rock bottom my entire life.
Yeah.
And that's a scary place to be because
And everybody looked at you like, what?
no, they get it. I mean, they get it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I think that's where a lot of people are. Things aren't that
Yeah.
bad. They're still putting food on the table. They're still paying their mortgage.
Mhm.
Their cholesterol is managed by medication. Their marriage isn't that bad. I mean, things
Yeah.
aren't that bad, but like there's a lot lacking. They're not,
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
not that.
you go to your Thoreau. Most men live lives of quiet desperation.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it was true, 150 years ago, and it's true today. I mean, people just kind of amble through life, I guess, in a lot of cases, and I guess where you're coming from makes a lot of sense. Had that not blown up in your face, and you've been able to go and address it, who knows where you'd be right now.
And I think that, like I've been thinking about this a lot. Like my parents, like there wasn't a lot of support. I think that
Okay.
for me, I knew that like I would be the one to save myself. There's the saying,
Mhm.
nobody's coming. For me, I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't have been homeless or anything. But like I was just like the support that would have, I mean, I think that if I would have needed help, the scrutiny of my life choices would have been something that I wasn't looking to have. I mean, I'm fine with feedback, but I
Yeah.
think that it's just like
Yeah.
I live in a different world than my parents do. And
Mhm.
I spend money on different things and I've made different choices. And I just
Mhm.
was really afraid that like if I needed help, it would come with like contingencies and a lot of things that I didn't want to have to deal with.
Sure.
So I picked myself up. But I think,
Mhm.
I was listening to a podcast this morning about this. It was actually an Oprah podcast. She was interviewing somebody about how they wrote a book on like finances and like talking to your kids about money. And she said something really interesting. I mean, she's on Oprah, so clearly she's done something impactful in the world. But she's like just about how kids need to work. I mean,
Yep.
I think that I would have appreciated having to worry less about money when I was 15, 16, and 17. But I think in the summer, when you're not in school, a little bit of financial stress builds a lot of character.
Yeah.
And
Well, but I mean, I think I look back with my parents. I mean, I remember my mom, I think I was probably 13 or 14. I was an only child and all this. My mom's like, let me introduce you to the washer and dryer. And you're going to wash your own clothes and dry your own clothes and fold them and everything else. I'm not doing it for you anymore. And, I think back to that. And, I run a co working space where we have a couple of tenants that are, driving schools and stuff like that. And seeing some of these kids come in, and I'm like, you're 18, 19, 20 years old and you don't even have a driver's license. I mean, that was the thing when I turned 16, that was freedom.
same.
I wanted to get a driver's license. I was going to buy a car. I worked, for 2 summers to be able to save up enough money to buy a really piece of crap truck. But, and then I fixed it up and my dad worked with me and we fixed it up and it was a little less of a piece of crap truck, but it was that was my freedom. I
Yeah.
got to go wherever I wanted to and do what I wanted to and not have to rely on my parents. And it's funny how there's like a generation coming up that, I mean, they don't even want to drive.
It's
Yeah, they see. Yeah.
and I feel sorry for I mean, I don't want to talk about the whole generation like that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of, there's
Oh,
probably
no,
more.
no. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there are some really switched on, motivated kids that I would say in Gen Z, but there's also a big wad of them
Yeah.
that are just kind of ambling through
There's
life.
probably, I would assume this is right. There's probably more millionaires that are 18 years old now than ever at any point in our
I think
lifetime.
so.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or just hyper successful. You know what? I've got to do this myself. I mean,
Mhm.
I see it from a financial advisor perspective. some of those are my favorite clients because they just get it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm not, nobody's going to be there to help me. I'm going to do this. I don't want to wait until I'm, 65 years old to actually live my life. So I've got to do stuff now and all that. And I mean, I think the fire movement has had a big part of that, where it's encouraged people to retire early, although I think sometimes a little disjointed because then they don't know what to do. But I think it's just you've got to be able to do that, and you did that, and I did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of processing what you're saying, and
Yeah.
it's a very, like, right now, I mean, a big part of what I'm doing right now, it's like that I want to enjoy this next half of my life. And
Yeah.
I mean, I read a book called The Psychology of Money. It's a pretty popular
Okay.
book. And it was interesting. Like, they said that the 401k has only been around since like right after World War II. And then I'm kind of putting this together,
Yeah.
and like looking at my grandparents, were the first generation to ever retire. I watched them
Mm.
retire at like 55 and sit on the couch for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And my parents retired very young as well, and they have some hobbies and such. And but like I've realized for myself, like I don't want to retire at 58 years
Mm.
old. Like I want to not
Yeah.
work super hard in my 60s and 70s. But I love writing, and
Yeah.
and I mean, so for me, like a lot of this right now is building a lifestyle business that's going to fit my lifestyle. And
Mhm.
I've not quite gotten here with my financial advisor, but like it's something that's on my mind. The model that we're looking at is me stopping working at like 58 years old or something like that,
Yeah.
and which is
Well,
great.
but I think that the difference is, I mean, this is the whole premise behind Freedom Day, is just simply the fact it's a work optional lifestyle.
At work. And
It's not, it doesn't mean that you're going to go sit and whittle wood on the front porch for the next 40 years of your life. It is, you know what, I want to work when I want to work. I mean, for me, that was June 22nd, 2022. I sold out of the business that I'd helped to build. And, I woke up that next day and I was like, okay, I don't really have to go to work at this point, but I can't just not do
mhm,
anything. But what I would say, and this is my advice to you, is don't be in too big of a hurry to figure it out. Because it took me a solid 18 months, and I really kind of knew what I wanted to do, but it took me a good solid 18 months because I would kind of go down a path and then realize, oh crap, I'm taking myself right down the same mess that I had put myself in before. So take your time. You don't have to hurry at this. You obviously you've got the resources that you don't have to rush. Take your time, figure it out, and don't just be the, cookie cutter, coach or whatever. You got to figure out what makes you really unique that you can impart to that client.
Jeff, that like makes my heart like feel so good right now, because that's
Yeah.
been this journey, like.
Yeah.
And I talked to my financial advisor after I left my thing, and she laid the
Mhm.
model out that if you keep like
Yeah.
making this money, like then, I mean, then we die with literally like 9 digits, like 8 digits, like,
Yeah.
which is insane.
Yeah.
And and she's like, you could kind of stop working now. And I want to be clear, like, I only made really, really good money for a few years of my life. Like,
Yeah.
and I say this just because I think so many people have more options than they think they do. If you're
Mhm.
sitting there with $5 million in your retirement and you're 45 years old, you have a lot of options. Like, you
Yeah.
can take that break to do something. And I don't have $5 million, to be clear. If you're there with
Mhm.
$2 million, you have options. If you're there with $1
Yeah.
million, you have a few options. And
Absolutely. Well, and,
and
and a lot of it comes down to, I mean, okay, I made $1 million a year. Do I need $1 million a year to live on
no.
today? No. I mean, it's what we call minimum required income, MRI.
Mhm.
Figure out what your MRI is, and then that's when your Freedom Day habit. If you have enough, even just sitting there and saying, okay, I've saved up all this money. I don't really know what I want to do, but I know I can generate enough off of here. You have no stress. You have a work optional life.
It feels, yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting just to hear that.
Because it's hard when you're a hard charger
It's
and you're used to like, okay, I've got to go, 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 but you don't have to go, 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 go.
It's taking
you
some
know?
time to like really embrace
Yeah.
that. And she's like, you could start taking money out of your investments right now. And like,
Yeah.
you know, with the money your partner makes, like you'd be
Mhm.
okay. I mean, we're not at the place where like we wouldn't have vacations so much or anything like that at the moment, but kind of given that
But
model, if I started making $5,000 a month doing something I loved, then like that, like this all,
then you're kind of okay.
you're
You
kind
know,
of
I mean,
okay.
that's the big thing is like, okay, we cover our bills, everything else, then, then it becomes fun because if okay, I've got that recurring, let's say 5 or 6 grand that covers the bills, then every other bit of work that you do is just for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of it is like I do, I'm going to go work, I'm going to work super hard for this month or two. And then that gives us a month to live in, England. I mean, I'm going through this right now because, my wife and I, we've got 3 businesses, technically 4. 3 of the 4 we can do anywhere in the world. One of them, we are trapped and we cannot get out of here. And I cannot get a consistent employee to run this place. It's been a constant flow of people. So we're in that process of saying, okay, what can we do to get it to where that isn't an issue anymore? And the ability to say, you know what, we're just going to go take a month and go and live in the countryside in England.
Mm-hmm.
And I started doing the math and I'm like, I can live really damn well renting a house in the countryside in England for about 4 or 5 grand a month.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too hard to make 4 or 5 grand a month,
No.
or to redirect some money to do that.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of that, we have this vacation mindset of, I'm going to spend $15,000 on this vacation where I stress myself out and go over all these places. Why not just go live someplace? It's really cheap to rent a place and be in a place to just not rush around
Mm-hmm.
for 4 or 5 grand.
Mm-hmm.
You can live pretty much anywhere in the world that you would think. Now downtown London, totally different animal.
Yeah.
It would cost you 12 grand a month just
Yeah.
to live there. But
Yeah. Thanks for, I mean, and that's really where I'm at right now.
yeah.
I love coaching. I have some amazing clients,
Mhm.
and um, it's been, this has been like, I know that this is my purpose right now, having gone through
Mhm.
what I've gone through, and
Yep.
really who I help. It's entrepreneurs, executives who have done everything right. They do have some money. They've proven to themselves and quite
Mhm.
frankly to me that they can do it, that they've, that
Yep.
they can be dedicated to something, and they don't feel fulfilled. And a lot of it is, I was
Mhm.
talking to somebody recently that was like, well, like, I'm wondering, like they're kind of figuring out what's going on, and they're like, maybe my marriage isn't making me happy, maybe like I need
Yeah.
to move. And like a lot of it is the problems inside, a lot
Mhm.
of it is unhealed trauma from childhood, or just unhealed things, or like things that need to be explored. And I help people. I've done pretty well in sales and marketing, and my sweet spot is helping somebody who needs help with their life, their business, and really creating it so it's something that feels really good to them. And like what
Yeah.
you said, I mean, I mean, it's really helping them understand that, more money is not always the answer. And I think that's kind of happening organically right now with just like how expensive it is to borrow money now. So people are
Mhm.
reevaluating whether they are going to grow their, $100 million business or be happy with the $10 million business they have. But let me tell you, I mean, nothing sounds better to me than having a $10 million business at a 60% margin that I'm 100% owner of and
Yeah.
get to make all the decisions of, and
Yeah.
come and
And
grow as
and
I
have a
please.
team in yeah, you have enough revenue coming in that you have a team in place that's running the show, and you kind of get back to the Matt 15-hour,
Work
the
for five.
15-hour work week. That was pretty damn that's a pretty sweet deal at
And
that point.
so I love working with people like that. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, as I've been building this business, and this is really kind of where I'm at right now. Is it okay if I kind of share
Mhm.
with you what's going on right
Oh no,
now?
please go.
So
Go,
yeah,
go,
it's been
go.
about 6 months since I sunsetted the consulting part. I mean, I had two clients for about 7 years, and
Mhm.
I'd grown to need a change. And
Yeah.
so it's been about 6 months since I stopped that, and it's been interesting. Like I've learned to listen to my intuition. I mean, I already had a really sweet situation, and I was kind of trying to fit myself, and not like on purpose. I was just like
Mhm.
listening to all the mentors and coaches that I had helping me, and they weren't doing anything wrong. But what I really needed to do was slow down and get some clarity on what I really wanted this part of my life to look like. And over these past like month and a half, I've gotten incredible clarity on what I want. And
Mhm.
what I realized is I love cooking. I love entertaining. I love hosting. I love the whole like the creating a beautiful environment at home. I mean, like, I traveled all over the world. I've done a lot of things. My partner and I have both done a lot of things. And at this stage of our life, like we're kind of happy at home in a way that
Yeah.
some people may, like a lot of people, they forego their 20s and 30s, and their 40s, they finally have money to do things. And we're kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
And I cook really
Well,
well.
yeah, I mean, you're in the same situation my wife and I are. I mean, we're in our 50s, but we did a ton of travel early on, and we were talking about this last night. It's just we kind of get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm out in public so much doing things that I need that kind of recharge time,
Yeah.
and she's gone from being that, she like got energy from being out, and she's even gotten that where it's like, what, it's kind of cool to just be together,
Yeah.
and it's just us, and you've got another life coming in here
Yeah.
pretty soon that you need to make that be for y'all, not for the world
Yeah.
at that point. But I like your approach. I mean, we were talking about this, so
Yeah.
share what you're talking
Thank
about
you.
doing.
So, I have spent a lot of time and money and effort on a lot of digital marketing strategies, ad strategies, and I'm not saying they're not
Mhm.
working. Like I have a couple of things that I'm still going, that are still going, but when it comes down to it, I have no desire to be the digital marketing expert. It is just not who I
Mhm.
am. And I've also, as I've allowed my intuition to guide me, I am a little burnt out from being in front of the computer all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm happy to have Zoom calls with clients. I like stuff like that, but I don't want to be in emails all day long. I'm not trying
Mhm.
to, um, yeah, it's really weird. If anybody would have known me 2 years ago, I was Mr. Work from home, happy to be in my sweatpants all the time. And I still like to be in my sweatpants, but like, I really enjoy like being face to face with people in a way that I didn't realize how much I was missing.
Mhm.
And, and I'm a good cook. I mean, I'm a good cook. We have a beautiful home here in LA. And, so what I've started doing is I've started hosting brunches 3 out of 4 Fridays a month. I invite cool
Mhm.
people over to my house. Anybody who's listening that wants to reach out, please do. I'll share my email address, and I'd love to see if it's a fit, But I'd love to. I'm just looking to be with cool people, and
Mhm.
I'm not expecting to sell anything. I just want to meet cool people, and hopefully this leads to some business, some referral business, some coaching, some
Mhm.
consulting opportunities. But what I'm doing that's really most exciting for me, I wanted to share like my story in the service of impacting others, and I wanted to really I love learning. Like, I mean, I love reading, and like, I mean, I'm kind of a teacher at heart like this, but I'm not like the
Mhm.
science guy. I'm not the like teaching somebody, well, your frontal cortex is the reason why you're anxious. Like, that's not me. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
helping people in the way that I know how to help people. And I just want people to, I just want to meet cool people. And so I've started
Yeah.
hosting these brunches at my house, and
Love that.
I'm
Love that idea.
I'm moving into like a coaching experience in the kitchen where if this was the first thing that I really ever did creative, so I'm helping people with their lives and business problems and teaching them how to cook if they want to. If not, we could sit down, I can make them a meal and we can talk about life and business problems over a home cooked meal. Take your shoes off, and
Mhm.
that's where this is going. So it's been really
Throw the
interesting.
sweatpants on, and I mean,
You can wear your sweatpants over. There's no judgment at all. And not even any judgment. I mean, honestly, like a lot of this is I
yeah.
don't want to wear a suit and tie myself. I mean, for a
Nope.
wedding, it's fine. It's more than fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just not the business guy anymore.
Yeah.
The more that I'm leaning into my authenticity, the more I'm realizing, like, was I ever this business person? I mean, I did really well at it, so maybe there was something there.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I'm starting to film like my cooking. I'm starting a
Mhm.
YouTube channel around this and Substack
Cool.
and talking about this whole thing and seeing where it all leads. But
Yeah.
I'm
Like I
looking.
said, once again, don't be in a hurry.
Thank you.
Just do what your gut tells you to do, and something's going to come out of it.
Thank you.
It's I say it sometimes. It's a God thing. It's just like you kind of open up to the world, and something's going to pop in there. And I've ridden that wave for a pretty good period of time. I mean, the last 8 to 9 years, I've kind of ridden that. All right, let's let life kind of happen, and we'll see where it leads to. And like I said, I think one, you're doing something that you're happy and you like, and bringing these small groups of people together is really a cool thing. I mean, it's a cool thing that you're a service that you're doing for those people,
Thank you.
not just cooking, but also bringing cool people together. Because tends of the I tend to find if I like them, they'll probably like each other.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, they're not going to have a lot of. I just won't invite people that I don't. Well, one, I don't like, but certainly that I don't think other people will like at that
Yeah.
point. So just do what
Thank you.
feels right, and it's going to happen, man.
Thank you. And this is
Well,
really
cool. I'm excited, and I can't wait to
you.
hear. As we go on, we'll have to do another interview down the road as you kind of figure how this all works out. Okay, well, let's switch gears and jump over to the Fast Five questions.
Thanks. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. First question. You wake up in the morning, business is gone. You have $500, laptop, computer, place to live. What are you going to do first?
What I would do now, coaching. I would be putting myself out there. Like I said, kind of just this. I've tried all the digital fun stuff, and now it's like I would just get out there and start having conversations and talk about what I know and see who I can help, see who I can serve.
Love it. Love it. Second question. What's your biggest business mistake you've ever made?
It would be I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but if I could go back and do something different, I would have spent the year or 6 months getting to know myself when I was 18, 19 years old and really understood when life cost $1,500 a month. Would have been a lot easier.
Yeah. Then step in. Yeah. As Bruce Springsteen put it, when you make more than $5,000 a day, you have more than $5,000 a day problems. So what's a good book that you'd recommend for the audience?
Oh, what is a good book? I read so much. I'm going to just go with one that it makes sense, but it's called 10X 10X is easier than 2X. 10X is simpler.
Yep.
It's by Benjamin Hardy and another guy, Dan Sullivan. I just started it this morning on Audible for the 4th time. So I've not listened to a book 4 times. So it is such a good book. And I think it's also interesting.
And it's so right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, okay, I mean, I was reading something, Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's partner for so many years, business partner for so many years. And the way he put it, he's like, man, the first 100,000 is the hard part. It gets easier after that. You just got to get to the first 100,000, which is a booger. So, the same thing with the 10X versus 2X. I mean, just 10X it and be done.
Yeah. Well, it talks about you have to say no to so many things.
Yeah.
And I'm reading it or listening to it this 4th time. It's a great book to listen to. Some books you really should read. Some books are fine listening to. But it's really like I'm a different person than I was when I listened to it the last time, probably 3 or 4 months ago. And I shouldn't say I'm a different person. I've evolved. I've learned a little bit more. And I'm realizing this is building a business. Anything you do is going to be hard. So you might as well build the business you want to build. And what I'm in the process of is learning how to say no to the things that need to be said no to, because quite honestly, I have a bigger vision. I want to work with excellent people, help them get excellent results. And,
but that's the only way you're going to be able to do what you're trying to do, which is, okay, I don't want to be a workaholic anymore. I don't want to put myself in that position. So you've got to really be super selective about the people that you choose to work with. And treat it as if you've been doing it forever, and that you're not chasing after cash or whatever, which you don't have to right now. You don't have to chase after cash. So don't work with jerks, and life is good.
Absolutely.
What's a tool that you use in your business every day that you might recommend?
I was thinking about this. Can I say journaling? Is that okay? Honestly, journaling is my, with clients, I try not to be like, you have to do this. I'm not going to say you have to do yoga. I'm kind of to the point where I'm going to say you kind of have to journal, like because you're
Mm,
getting and I mean, and journaling could look different. It could be answering a question. What do I
mm,
feel today? What do I need today? What's lacking? What's good? What am I grateful for? Any of these, one of them works. But like to me, it's just like it is such a way to sort through things. And I think where I find the most relief is where I have like a financial thing in my mind where I'm thinking about like finances and I start working out the math on a
mm.
journaling has freed me in so many ways, and you can do it anywhere and it costs nothing.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You can do it. All you need is something to write on
Yep.
and something to write with, and you're good. All right. Last question for you. What is your definition of freedom?
Time, freedom, not like just having the to be able to do what I want to with my time, but
Mm,
also not being. I mean, but being like what's the word I'm looking for? Like I. I mean, I understand that like you have to do hard things as well. It's not
mm,
that I want to be. It's not that I want to be. I'm kind of like stumbling on this, but this is important because I want to make this more clear. It's not that I think that my time should be all leisurely, but if you're
mm,
doing the right thing with your time, it is quite leisurely doing the thing you love.
mm,
And I think like it's important. I want freedom to be spending my time doing mainly what I love and to be able to have the time off that I want to. And the
mm.
time that I am off, what I'm realizing, it's mainly to read. I love reading.
Okay.
It's or writing. So it's not like I'm like
Yeah.
doing something stupid. I'm actually I'm
Yeah.
reinvesting in myself. Time to
Yeah.
reinvest
You're
in
you're not
myself.
cracking a beer and sitting watching TV for
No,
8 hours a day.
no.
Yeah.
But that's fine
So,
too if you want to. I mean, if that
yeah.
relaxes, I mean, maybe not the
Yeah.
beer all day, but watching
Yeah.
TV sometimes is fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, time.
But I mean, once again, same thing. It's like, okay, just that's what you enjoy. Do what you enjoy. Don't, don't feel bad about, well, I didn't read today, or, I'm not working. Okay. Well, you are working. That's part of that, that tactical time or that
Mhm.
strategic time where you're really helping to do something that helps get you to that next phase or whatever.
Like I have a friend right now, and he's like, my boss throws meetings on my calendar at 4 o'clock on a Friday. Friday's work from home day, except for when there's a meeting with this guy. And I'm like, God, like, I mean,
It's
first of all, who
just
does that? Like, what a
yeah.
jerk of a boss, you know? Like,
Well, but that's today's world.
it,
If you can't get people into the office, well, then I'm going to make sure that you're working until at least 4 o'clock on Friday.
you know, well, there was
Guess
another
what? I own 4 businesses and I don't work past noon on Friday. I'm sorry.
There was
Done.
another book that I read called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. This was a really good
Yeah.
book. And it talked about this, like how he gave an example of a business that like mandated everyone being in the office. And it's just like, this is not guaranteeing people are going to be more productive. Like,
No.
it's like, I mean, the whole thing. I mean, and he talked about how productivity was really like a term that we used to measure farmland back in the day,
Mhm.
like water it
Yeah.
this frequently, plants this. It's not a measure for
Mhm.
people, like in the same
Yeah.
way that we use
Well,
it.
but I mean, what is that? What's the tradition of the industrial generation? Well, you work from 8 until 5 every day.
Hmm.
Why is that? What's the magic of 8 till 5 or 9 until 6?
Exactly.
What's the magic of that? Nothing. Somebody made it up and said, "Well, this is how to be productive is working from 9 till 6." Well, what if I can get all the work done from 9 until like 11 or 8 until 11?
And
And I'm done at that point. Am I less productive because I didn't work a full 8 hours?
some people need the structure. I mean, this isn't
Yeah.
applicable for
Oh,
everybody, but some people
totally agree.
like, I mean, taking like the advice that you said to me, like, I've been these past 6 months, like I've been pushing. And
Mhm.
what it actually showed me, where there was an element of surrendering and just like going for more hikes and doing things like,
Yep.
so it's not all about doing. Sometimes
Yeah.
we need to not
Well,
do.
but sometimes that hike, that's your time away from the mess, all the other stuff around you and the noise where you can think. I mean, for
Absolutely.
me, that's when I'm alone and I'm, let's say, taking a hike or just even walking around this, the block or something like that. Boom, that's the time when my head, my brain is on fire
Hmm.
at that point. That's where a lot of that information, it's where a lot of those things that I use, it's my form of journaling in my head.
Hmm.
I guess the best way to explain it. It's where I work things out. And then it's like, okay, now I can come back and I can implement that. Or I'm going to come back and write down everything I just did, because otherwise I'm going to totally forget it. And then that's what I act upon.
Love it. I feel the same.
So don't feel bad. Don't feel bad at all, man.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you. I'm going to take you up on that when I'm in LA, the brunch thing. If someone's interested in learning a little bit more about you, getting in contact with you, what's the best way?
Check out my website, mattgerlach.com. There is a free download. It's a workbook. It's really the distillation of my entire personal growth journey. You can download this workbook, and inside you can book a free 45-minute call with me to go through your life obstacles and goals. No expectations or anything. I'm just happy to serve folks that are looking to improve themselves.
Absolutely.
But you can also email me directly. I don't normally give my email out, but matt@mattgerlach.com, and shoot me an email if you're in LA and you want to potentially attend a brunch at my house. It's actually free as of now. I don't think I'm going to change that, but free brunch for really cool people who are business leaders who have done something
glad
cool.
to bring the egg, man.
Artists, cool people. But yeah, reach out. I'd love to connect with anybody who's interested.
Very cool. Well, thanks, Matt. Thanks for being on. Thanks for sharing your story. I mean,
I really appreciate it. I've enjoyed this way more than I can tell you. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome, my friend. Well, folks, make sure you reach out to Matt. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's gone through a lot to help you to get where you need to be. So make sure you reach out to him. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Get that on there, and I'd love some comments. I've been going back and forth with several people, and we've got some really cool stuff coming up right behind me. The Stress-Free Retirement Project, you'll be learning a little bit more about, and a book coming out very quickly talking about my Freedom Day story. So make sure you stay tuned, because all that's coming out in the next several weeks. Thanks a lot, and we will see you guys back here the very next time.
All in